day, all my night, I've been waiting for you since the dawning of my time. I've been waiting for you. There's nobody else but you. All I want is you.
Hey Wesley, how you doing?
Hello.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, man. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming on, man, and being down.
No worries, mate. Thanks so much for having me. And glad we could arrange it through the channels. So yeah, cheers, man.
Yeah, it's morning for you, right?
You're Canada, aren't you?
Yeah, Northern Ontario.
Oh wow, awesome. What's it like there at the moment?
Well, it's basically mid August, so we're starting to get a little bit of the leaves turning. We're feeling autumn coming, which is not good for us.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah, we're about to hit spring, so it's beautiful weather here. It is really a beautiful time of year in Australia. So yeah, and rock and roll. We've that's I think Jeff, my manager, he was pretty stoked you reached out as well. So thanks, mate, for being a fan and that kind of thing. And
yeah, I found you and I was surprised because like a lot of people like, oh, they're either into country or not, but good music is good music, man, and your stuff just kind of hit me by surprise.
I guess I think country is a very broad spectrum these days, and you've got your different genres within the genre, I guess. I don't know. And country rock was, I guess, is the music of the 70s, as I think Tom Petty once said. And it is, when you look back, a lot of music with a guitar or a guitar, bass, drums, piano, organ, harmonica, a lot of that is really is country music, I guess. It spawns back from the old country blues genre anyway. I mean, the Beatles, you could arguably say that they're country, I mean, it's I think pop music has that term because it's popular. I mean, that's all it is. Pop music is one of the most popular. So, but we have these perceived ideas as to what genre and what, humans love to put everything in a box so we can understand it better.
Categorize everything
that's it.
This is what this is, right?
That's right. And so I've got a lot of songs that wouldn't necessarily be country if you arranged it in different ways, just because it's got a lap steel in it, doesn't mean it's, it's funny how the arrangement to a song is a song, and then it's however you want to arrange it.
Yeah.
It's I guess it's as simple as that in a way. Yeah. So
why don't we give because maybe not all the people that are going to watch this don't know about your music. Why don't we give a little context, like how you began? Because like I didn't know before this, but you have a big history and you got some cool stuff you've lived through, man, with music,
Mm.
Jeff was.
Yeah, I mean,
how about when you started off with music? When did you discover music?
Really young, man. Like I was probably my dad always says, I was singing before I could kind of talk, and it's sort of true in a way where I, there's photos of me playing the Michael Jackson Thrillers vinyl, around and around and again. I'm an 82 model, so I was born in 82. And so that was when that record was released. And I think, I don't know, I obviously can't remember first hearing that music, but that was something that obviously really had an effect on me when I was really young. and I'm the only musician in my family. So I don't know where it all came from, but everyone else is, not into music the way I am. A lot of my dad's side are fans of music. I remember them playing the Beatles and the Stones, and I remember just hearing the music and it having a real effect on me. Like it shifted something in my soul every time I heard it, more so than just kind of listening to it out of, oh yeah, this is another good song. And it was something, it was like a spiritual thing, and I remember when I was a kid, I used to put my ears right up to the speaker on Sunday night when my family were having their weekly get-together, and they would play this music really loud, and it would just be like, so deafening, and I would just be sitting there rocking backwards and forwards listening to this music. But Michael Jackson personally was my first ever introduction to music and singing and performing and dancing, and I can do the moonwalk and do all of that stuff as well. That's how I started. And I started professionally singing when I was 8 and performing when I was 8 years old. And then around Adelaide, Australia, where I grew up my first years. And then at 12, I started teaching myself how to play instruments and started writing songs through teaching myself how to play music. So my first songs were my own songs that I learnt.
It's a little different, right? Because a lot of musicians start doing like covers, right?
Yeah. And I learnt A, G, D, and C, I guess, and was right into Nirvana and really into Nirvana actually. And so I would sort of mimic. I would kind of learn chords from back in the day when you bought the chord chart books, so I bought the Unplugged in New York chord chart book and learnt the chords from the graphs or the chord charts from the book, and I just collected different chords every week and wrote a new song around that chord, and it just fell out of me, really. It just sort of felt so natural, and then that was it. And I've been doing it ever since. So long now. feels like a long time I've been doing it, but I just feel like I'm getting started in a weird way too. So, and to jump forward, I moved to Sydney when I was 15 to live with my dad, and started playing shows, when I was 14, 15, with my own music, anywhere I could get a gig, open mic nights, and really kind of, I guess, did my apprenticeship in that space from sort of when I was 14 to 18, 20, I was playing regularly in Sydney, sometimes 5 nights a week, which is unheard of now, by the way. That wouldn't happen.
Well, they just don't let new artists come in?
They just don't have depressing right now is because, they had venues closed and everything, like a lot of the venues that I once played back in the early 2000s are not there anymore. Unfortunately, it's a struggle to be a musician in Australia. It's a hard road to sort of live off your own music. You have to sort of almost be a shapeshifter and kind of figure out, what you do. Like 1 minute you're sort of doing a tribute show, next minute you're playing covers, next minute you're doing your own record, and you've got to kind of work out how to sort of grow within your own craft. And that's what I've been doing for the last 20 years, is just trying to work out where I sort of fit in all of this and how I keep keeping myself inspired, but also how I keep growing and also being creative, and also living, and earning a living,
having food, having something to eat.
That's it, eating, and supporting a family, So for me, it is a bit of a hard slog, but at the end of the day, I can't do anything else. That's what I do, and I've always been doing it ever since I was really young. So I would never ever do anything else in a way. I always come back to music. That's my spiritual home, really, you know. So
Well, would you say to these bars to like let you play when you were like 15 years old? Like,
well, at the time it was pretty relaxed. My dad used to drive me to the venues, so as long as I had my dad with me and I didn't drink, obviously that was fine, you know. And I played some pretty crazy venues too, you know. Like sometimes I would start at 11 p.m. Right. And they would drag, you know, they'd sort of put me on the stage, and I'd sit there and I'd play 5 songs, you know, and then nervous as all hell because, you know, at 11 p.m. in a bar or a venue, it's pretty rowdy. You know, obviously we know that now, but, you know, being adults. But back in the day, you know, I was sort of still kind of, you know, pretty young. But I grew up pretty fast and had some pretty, you know, I had some friends who were, you know, in their 20s when I was 15. That I grew up with in Adelaide. So I had, like, because through the entertainment world or whatever, you know, you work with adults, and, you know, I did pantomimes in Adelaide, and I did theatre productions, and I did, you know, those sorts of things as well. And, you know, so I'd always been singing and in venues since really a very early age. So come to those sorts of venues when I was at 15, 16, you know, playing those sort of late night venues. It was almost like a natural progression for me, you know, even though I was probably still young, obviously too young to sort of be there as a patron. I still kind of, it felt natural for me to do that. And I had the songs, you know, to engage an audience too. And
because you're doing it all original right now, right? Like, or
yeah. So I that's what I did. I just wrote songs. As a kid, I don't really remember much of other things other than, you know, as a kid you sort of did the normal things. Like I played AFL and I played football, which is our football here in Australia is AFL, and you know, I was a good swimmer and all those sorts of things, and at school, and, you know, but I always would come back to music, and nothing could ever compare. And, you know, kids would come knocking on the door to play, you know, in the neighborhood, and I would sort of hide and want to just play records all day, you know, and was a bit of a loner in that way too. So, so, you know, it's always just been a craft of mine. I've just always done it. And then, you know, cut to when I was 26, I had a totally different idea to then enter Australian Idol, which was something that at the time I felt like I needed to do to kind of get out of this rut that I felt. I felt creatively exhausted and just exhausted from going around venues, different venues, and playing my music. And, you know, I had a publishing deal and all this sort of stuff, but it felt like I wasn't making any inroads. And I felt like I'd had sort of exhausted every avenue. I'd been in a band called Tamburlaine with one of the guys from Silverchair, which I know Canada really love, you know, and they're an iconic rock band here. I'd worked with Cold Chisel, and Don Walker, who's a mentor of mine, who's an incredible guy. And Cold Chisel is probably Australia's Rolling Stones. And, you know, I'd worked with other amazing Australian artists that had already kind of broken through, and I just felt like I hadn't sort of grown the way I wanted to. And so I thought, bugger it, I'm just going to go into this TV competition. And, you know, it was surreal, to say the least. It was, you know, an overnight sensation when I won it. You know, I was an overnight success, and, you know, this guy needs to earn his winnings and do his apprenticeship. You know, it's like, wow, I've been doing this since I was.
Yeah, what do you call it? What I've been doing for like.
So thanks, guys. You know, but and then all of a sudden it was, you know, they liked my version of All Along the Watchtower and Get Back, and that's fine. But I was a songwriter at heart, so it was a hard thing to be able to then fit into that pigeonhole when I had all this music that I wanted to sort of create and do myself.
Like
and
as an artist, when they tell you, or like yourself, like when they tell you like, nah, all that stuff you're writing, well, we want this that has nothing to do with you.
That I'm a big believer that, you know, artists need to create in order to keep our world revolving. I mean, if we keep doing Creedence Clearwater cover records every day of the week, so it's just, you know, I love Creedence, but Creedence wouldn't do, you know, a tribute to Ray Charles, you know, like they would do their own music, you know. So we need to keep evolving as artists and keep breaking the boundaries and breaking the mold and sort of reinventing it almost again. And so that's what I was saying back then. And that's fine. I mean, I understand that labels, major labels need to, you know, they need to have a certain, what do you call it, bottom line, and you know, they need to keep the money rolling in, and what's popular now is a very nostalgic kind of look back, you know, like a lot, you know, I think the last top 50 earners there was of 2019, you know, I think the Stones was in there, and you know, there's you know, I think Elvis, John Lennon, Pink Floyd, like all of these guys are still earning the big bucks. Paul McCartney, because I believe that they created from here. You know, they did what they kind of wanted to do. You know, and nowadays there is so much control in the way art should be released that I don't think it's as necessary. You know, it's not necessary to sort of try and control an artist. You know, I think an artist needs to have freedom to be able to create the new. And I do believe, though, that this is a great time for music. I'm not saying that this time is any way a bad time for music. I think what's coming out these days is amazing. You know, I love the new music that's coming out all the time. But, you know, what I'm saying is, you know, an artist needs to create, I think, and have no boundaries. And at the moment, and I will always do that in every sense of the word. I'll always promise that everything that I create is from my heart, you know, and not for something, you know, not just to sort of write a song to sort of, you know,
to fit an niche that's going on.
Yeah, it has to mean something to me, you know. It has to mean so much to me, you know, to be able to then release it into the wild, you know, and I think if we keep doing that as artists, then, you know, music's always going to be all right, you know.
I think,
but I'm so grateful for everything I've experienced, to be honest, as well. You know, even all of that stuff.
You wouldn't change it.
That's right. I would never change it, and I absolutely have so much respect for everyone in the industry, no matter who they are, because music industry is so hard a lot of the times to break through and to be a musician, especially now more than ever. It's a hard thing, a gig to keep living and keep expanding and keep growing, you know. But yeah, I think that made sense. I hope that came across okay.
I mean, I got it. Yeah. No, I think this is kind of butchering a quote from Joe Peterson, which I don't know if you guys.
Yeah, I know Joe.
Probably has problems with that guy. That music is the only thing that comes close enough to kind of describe like individual experience and like to put into words what life is, right?
Absolutely. It's the biggest healer, I think, you know, or one of the biggest healers anyway is music. It'll always be that way. And it's for me it's an amazing thing to be able to do every day. Wake up and play guitar or piano or write a lyric and feel better. You know, it's like therapy. It's like, I feel better about that now. Just, you know, and it definitely has saved my life a few times in my life too. Absolutely. It's given me a lot of clarity and a lot of insight about life. You know, I've traveled the world with it. It's And I'm only just getting started, which is the exciting thing. And all my new music that is being released at the moment, we've got one coming out called Maggie Ray on Thursday, and then we've got a few other. There's another track called "Is Anyone Alive" that I'm really proud of, and they're all just comments on my own life and also on the world and humanity, and I just from my wishes is to be able to kind of offer up music and for somebody out there to respond in a way that they are that they connect with. And I think right now we need more connection as human beings than ever, and music is definitely I think the number one connection for everyone right now. It's a good way to connect and a good way to sort of have your own. I just hope that my songs can be some sort of an anthem for some people, you know, like they can take it away and relate it to their own lives. You know, that's one of the big driving forces for me. Is, you know, it's a service that you provide for people as well. You know,
I like that how you put it. It's a service. I haven't heard it that way. Yeah,
totally. I'm big, you know, and when you look at it, like all of my favorite songs have connected with me in a certain way, and I just keep going back to them all the time. You know, I always. Sometimes, you know, my boys and, you know, my son, my 7-year-old son and my wife, and they're always like, "Oh man, not this song again." You know, I've got like the top 10 that I play over and over again. And one of them at the moment is Moon River, because it was my nan's favorite song, you know, and I sing that to my boy when I put him to sleep every night, you know, and it's just a great song. It's one of those songs that you can play at a funeral or a wedding, or it's just one of those songs that fits every single, like What a Wonderful World, or even Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Those kind of old tunes, but they're timeless, and they can live on. Like Imagine as well. Imagine's one of those, you know.
The one I'm going to be playing over and over again lately is the Country Roads.
Oh man, great tune. It's just one of those. Yeah, it's another one. That's another one of those songs that just gets into your soul, and you can never.
You can't explain it.
That's it. Yeah.
Do you have like a process, or just inspiration hits you, or do you sit down and you're like, you know, I need to put out a new song. I feel it, and you just push yourself, or just when it comes? Yeah.
Well, I'm an independent artist, so we're just making up our own rules, and I've got a company called the Hall of Flames, which is my manager and my marketing manager and me, pretty much, and we are a bit of a team. And then I've got a lot of people helping me as well, and you know, and we're just sort of making up our own rules as we go along, and so when we release songs, it's like I feel like that song's going to be a good one for now, and so I've got a lot of material. And it's all just waiting to sort of come out, and we're just progressively doing it in a way where it's sort of it's real, like, you know, it's real. We're releasing music as we feel, instead of sort of having kind of like, you know, rolling out an album, and you know, and at the moment there is no touring, and there is none of that at the moment. So we're just working within the constraints of this, of what's happening at the moment, and but it's given us so much freedom in a way, ironically, to be able to just sort of release online and connect with an audience that I probably wouldn't have been able to connect with, you know, a year ago. So it's great. I mean, I'm sitting here with you talking to you after me releasing some stuff online, and we're just gradually sort of building this thing in a very real way, and it's very exciting, really. It's great to be watching it from the outside too, in a way. It's like, you know, releasing some of these songs that I wrote a few years ago, and then some of them that I wrote really recently as well. So,
when did you have that? I feel like like this is that you've had that click of being a superstar or like having that goal of being Britney Spears famous or that kind of stuff? It's not going towards that. It's not the way. When did you have that? Or did you have it? I'm assuming.
Yeah, well, like when I was a kid, I just wanted to be just be like Mike, you know, like I was sort of like moonwalking and doing the impersonations, and then I won Idol, and I was very grateful for that, very, very grateful for that opportunity, and to be able to sort of look around and go, wow, I got a little taste of that, you know, and it was an amazing experience. But I guess, you know, a legacy that I want to leave is my own music and my own, wherever my creative soul takes me, that's where I'm going to go, you know? So, you know, I mean, we all have goals of becoming, you know, I mean, I definitely want to be part of that greatest of all time thing. I mean, that'd be pretty awesome. You know, I'm not going to sort of deny that. But, you know, I just want to be able to have the freedom to create, first of all, and the freedom to write my own music and leave a great legacy behind, you know. And so my boys, you know, whenever I kick the bucket, you know, my boys can turn around and say, Dad did it, you know. That's a big driving force for me now, being a dad, you know, and you learn so much about life being a dad. So, you know, there's all those dreams and aspirations of, you know, winning Grammys and all that as well. I mean, I would be lying if I didn't say that would be pretty cool to be able to have that, and say, hey, look what I did, guys. But but on the flip side to that, to be able to, you know, travel the world and play my music is really the driving force, and having people have their own experiences with my own message, my own music. So if they gravitate to something like the song "I Still Wait for You," for instance, I've been getting all these messages online saying, I'm going to play that song at my wedding. This is going to be my first dance at my wedding. That's gold. That's what drives me, really, is real people's reactions, real people, you know, not any industry expectation or any sort of that sort of stuff. That doesn't, you know, it's nice to have to push you along. And it does inspire you and it challenges you, but it's the real reactions that I love the most. Really. Yeah,
I mean, I had a reaction with that song too. I started thinking, because I've been talking to more and more artists and hearing what they want and kind of like listening, and I hear them. Like, let's see, like Wesley, if he would have quit, like that just went through my mind. If he would have quit music a while back, right? Because you've been in it, you could have had one of those moments. You're like, you know, this is it. And
I did
then
many times.
We wouldn't have been able to have that beautiful song, you know, like, and that'd be a shame.
Thanks, man.
So, like, I think there need to be a different message that artists should be happy with. Nowadays, you could be making $80,000 a year being an artist online, you know, like you don't need to be making millions. Like,
that's right.
As long as
that's right.
And if that happens, great. But
that's right. I think expectation kills creativity. So if you need to have those goals, and you need to set goals for yourself, no matter who you are, whatever you do. You know, if you run a business, essentially as a musician, you need to be an entrepreneur these days, and that's what's going to make you survive in any kind of aspect of the wild, you know, and it is the Wild West out there at the moment. We just don't know what's going to happen. I mean, touring could be drive-in tours for the rest of the time. It could be, you know, virtual tours, virtual online gigs. Who knows what's going to happen with all of that? But you have to be prepared for anything. And I think that's why I'm so grateful for my history, is because I've done many different forms of the industry where I've you know, I've been in bands that are independent, and then I was on a major label, and then I went back to being independent again. And then I did a tribute show at one stage, and I did some acting, and then I did some theater, and then I went back to music again. And then and so I kind of just kept moving, you know, with what I needed to do in order to keep inspired, and sort of followed my heart, really. And so everything that I've done has been out of it's been a heart-inspired action. I don't know what that even really means, but, you know, it has been from the heart. And so I've learned a lot to survive, I guess. I'm a survivor. And so now moving forward into this new paradigm of the music industry, and there's so much uncertainty, I find peace in the fact that I'm one of the lucky ones that I do have the experience to be able to sort of move on and create more music and know that everything's going to be okay. You know, everything will be okay. And you can create a career out of your passion these days, you know, you can. And so we are living in a time where it's an uncertain time, but it can be a lucky time if you just, it's mindset, you know, it's positivity, it's looking after your own community, it's looking after, just doing it out of your own passion for it, I think. And I think that's going to be, being authentic. And also I think a lot of people are sort of questioning what they've done the last however many years in their life, and they want to change their careers because they've realized that, like, you know, life is a fleeting moment, you know, and we need to sort of do what makes us happy, you know. And I'm glad that I've done that in my life. You know, if I look back on it, I've always done and I've been blessed to have the support as well to be able to keep doing, because even the last few years, I was seriously thinking about giving up music and just becoming a gardener. That was my thing. I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. I'm just done with this, like, grind after grind and not knowing, you know, every month living paycheck to paycheck kind of thing, and not knowing where I'm going to end up. And I've got a family now, and you know, I should be the dad, and I should be responsible, and I should fall back in line, and, you know, do, you know, and just drift off into this sort of, you know, oblivion. But I've realized that was all just, oh, woe is me, poor old Wes, you know, oh, he's been beaten. Yeah. That's not the way to live your life, you know. No. So, and I'm very blessed, and, you know, and meeting my now manager, Jeff, he's one of the guys that have really saved me from that too, to be honest. And also I've got a best mate here in Australia who's backed me all the way too, and been a bit of a business guide for me. And he's a businessman, but he's been incredible. So I've got great people around me. So I'm one of the lucky people, you know. I think if I didn't have those people, I probably would have been picking out weeds, or planting trees or something on someone's property right now, being a gardener or a landscape person or something, and trying to work out who I was all of a sudden, you know. So you know, it's but I'm very excited. I'm very excited about the new up and coming releases and the music that's about to be released, because I just feel like, you know, this is what I've been put here to do.
Tell me about this last song. What is it called? This one that everybody's having a good reaction. Like, give us the story on that. I'm sure people will love to hear it. Where it came from.
I still wait for you. It's one of those songs that, you know, I wrote a few years ago actually, and, you know, it just fell out like all of my songs just sort of come out pretty sort of very, you know, like they just flow out like so, and it's usually like, I mean, look, I've got the guitar here. Look at this. It's usually like you know, I just remember it going, all my days, all my nights. And I was thinking, oh, that sounds like kind of Van Morrison or Otis Redding or something, you know. I'll still wait for you. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, I have to kind of make sense of that. And it just, those sorts, it just sort of hits you like a freight train. And then all of a sudden you're there trying to pick up the pieces and knowing and trying to work out what it all means to you, because it obviously meaning something from you because it's coming from your subconscious, or there's a stream of thought that's coming out, and then you've got to kind of catch up in your own human way. And I think that can make or break a song. So you've got to understand that you've got to keep that raw thing that maybe doesn't make sense at first. You've got to hold that as the gold, and then try and work it out. Try and make it make sense, but not kill it at the same time, you know. And so for me, I interpreted it as a wedding song, a funeral song, a lost love. You know, there are so many different variables in that moment. So for me, it meant a lot of different things, you know, and I don't want to sound aloof, but that's the truth. You know, for me, it's like that whole thing of like, it means whatever you want it to mean.
Yeah.
Which I've always hated, by the way.
Yeah, who doesn't? It's like, fuck off, tell me what it is. I want to know.
Yeah, but to be honest, it is that, man. It's the old Mr. Jones, the Dylan thing. You know, who's Mr. Jones, Bob? Well, I tell you that, I'll get sued. That's what his response was, you know. But it isn't that. It's more it's more just kind of, you know, it is that sort of wedding funeral catharsis train of thought that I had when writing that song. And I actually thought that it wouldn't be my song. I thought it was a song for somebody else, and I was going to send it to a few people to see if they wanted to do it, you know. And then all of a sudden my friends were saying, hey, that's my favorite song, you know. You've got to release that. That's your song. And all of a sudden I put it up on Instagram, and then all of a sudden I get this really great response, and so much great, so many great stories already about the song, and how people have wanting to play it at their wedding, but also it reminded them of a love 40 years ago and stuff like that, which was really quite cool. That's what I love the most, is hearing. Do you
always visualize a story, or it just happened on this one?
That one fell out pretty easily. I do visualize things. I do see the story, and I do see every song that I have means something definitely to me. So I'm, you know, not to contradict what I just said, but it does mean all these songs mean a lot to me personally, but in different ways. So some songs can be highly candid, and then other songs can be either visualizing the future, you know, what I could see coming to me in the future, or a version of the future, or, you know, or songs that, or nostalgia. Nostalgia was a big one when I was a kid for some reason, and I hadn't even lived very, very long. And I was writing about things when I was 16 that, looking back, only 6 months or a year prior, but it was it meant so much to me. I had a song called "Waiting for You" when I was a kid that ended up being, you know, songs that they would play at weddings and funerals. The same thing, you know. I should call my album "Songs to Play at Weddings and Funerals." I don't know. But
put it on the infomercials at night, you know, whatever.
That's it. That's
$9.99 next 20 minutes.
Yeah. That's right. So, but I've got a song called "Tricks to Magic," which I wrote many years ago, and that was like a country song, and And I wrote that when I was sort of 15 too. I wrote a lot of songs when I was 15. And that was when I was sort of really finding myself as a songwriter. That was an unrequited love. I wrote that about somebody that didn't necessarily want to have anything to do with me when I was 15, and she was a bit older or whatever. And it was, and that really, actually, pubs and clubs in Sydney in the early 2000s used to sing that one word. I'd have a little army of people that would follow me around at gigs and things, and I always used to think, wow, like, what's so special? Like, are these people really? Do they really like these songs? Like, I was too young to realise what I was sort of doing. I was just writing these songs, and I was getting people from major label record companies come to my gigs, and publishers, and these sort of record company executives, and they would sit me down and say, "You're too young to be singing these songs." Like, when a woman makes you think, she's just like knowing the tricks to magic was the line. And I was 15.
Yeah.
And like, that's something that Bruce Springsteen would sing at 40. You can't sing that when you're 15. It needs to be like bop or something.
K-pop.
So it was, yeah. It was just a surreal situation. I don't know, but I mean, So my next one, Maggie Ray, was written about anxiety. But it's the metaphor is Maggie Ray, who's a woman who's your hair is turning grey. Maggie Ray, all I want is some peace and quiet. Is the lyric, and everybody, I guess, these days suffers from some sort of anxiety or depression at one stage of their lives, and this one is sort of a song about just looking at the anxiety or depression as just another form of yourself or another person, and relating to it in a third person, maybe, and so there's that, and then there's a song called "The Light in You," which is about my experiences I had when I went to India, and the point in time when I was trying to work out who I was and what I was doing. So of course you go to India to sort of see what it's all about. And I'd read a lot about George Harrison, and I was really inspired at the time about the Maharishi, and I read many books on transcendental meditation, and also practice that myself, and all of those sorts of things that I sort of, people say, oh, you fell down the rabbit hole, but it was just me trying to work out who I was at a much deeper level. And so I've got a song called "The Light in You," which is pretty much things that I'd picked up along my travels in India, in a song. The light in you is the light in me is the thing. And so there's all sorts of different narratives that I write about, not just boy meets girl, sort of stuff, but not that there's anything wrong with Boy Meets Girl. "Love Me Do" is one of my favorite songs of all time, it's just so I guess it's just what interests me at the time is what I write about, Yeah.
No, it's great. And not a lot of people nowadays want to actually truly discover themselves. And I feel like you truly have wanted to do that, put the effort to actually find out, who am I? What am I here?
For sure, man.
Why?
I think it's one of the most important things to do for yourself as a human being, because it just makes everything better. And to quote George Harrison, it's in one of his last interviews, he says, there's this tidal wave of bullshit that runs through the earth, through the world, and we have to navigate ourselves. And that his quote is "tidal wave of bullshit," and now I'm saying we have to navigate our way around that, and to work out who we are as human beings. And I think that's one of the most important things for yourself to do, and make sure that if you do go, if you do go to the depths of despair, know that that doesn't last very long. There's always a way to get out of that, you know, and it may take 5 years, but you'll always get better. It'll always get better. Things will always get better. I'm a big believer in that. So, you know, and I just think that really is aligned with kind of my messages. You know, we have to look towards a more of a hopeful future, more of a positive future, and that's why I think the Beatles is the best band of all time, because that's what they gave us. You know, come together, and you know, those songs they ring more and more true every day. It's insane. You know,
you think there'll be a time where they're not popular?
No, I don't think so. I think their music's going to live on forever. They said it all, I reckon, and you know, it's inspiring to look back and say, what, it's 50 years later or something now? I don't know, even more. 60 maybe now. I don't know. I think John's been on for 40 years. It's crazy to think. I mean, even though I wasn't born when he was murdered, I still have it's something about John that I feel so close to. I think, you know, all of that. So Sergeant Pepper took you by surprise, all that stuff. How do you sleep? All of that music that he created after the Beatles too. That snarl, Give Me Some Truth, and Imagine record. It's just a masterpiece. It rings true today. I just think he was a genius. So, you know, I for me, I just I hope that that, you know, everyone out there that that can, you know, that listens to my music can just have a tiny little bit of that it kind of makes them feel good and gives them that sort of hope and strength for whatever they're going through in their life and whatever. And I think that's the, what do you call it? The the ambition of any artist. We do it for ourselves, but we also do it to serve a community, like I said before, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the Beatles did, and I think that's what the Rolling Stones did, and I think that's what a lot of songwriters are doing now too. I think it's Jason Isbell. I think he's, you know, he's amazing. Actually, his record Elephant really helped me at a weird time of my life, you know, only a few years ago. I love that song, you know, and I don't know what it's about, and I think it's losing someone to cancer. And do you know that song, Elephant?
No, I'll have to check it out.
Jason, it's a great tune, man. It's a really beautiful song. And I've lost a few friends to cancer this year. So, you know, it was one of those songs that have helped me, you know. So that's just that's my aim to do the same in a way.
Put into words what you, maybe the listener, can't put into words.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What would you tell a young artist now that you've gone through all that shit that you've gone through and now you're in a good place? Like what kind of advice could you tell them?
The shit is the blessing. So everything that gets harder. My dad actually said to me yesterday, which was quite profound for my old man. He said, when everything feels like a pressure cooker, when everything gets to that point where it's like the darkness has, you know, transcended on your life, that's when things will rapidly change towards the light again, if you know what I mean, you know. So, you know, when it feels so intense, the intensity will give you that breakthrough that you need, you know. And you know, to some people it might sound absolutely whack, you know, because there's at that depth of despair that they can't hear that yet. They can't hear that. There's, you know, but I think like I said, the shit that you go through is your blessing. It really is. You learn so much more. Like I say to my boy who's throwing the football around at the moment, you know, and he can't get the NFL thing happening because, you know, we're Australian.
Spiral.
The whole, you know, grabbing the ball. And I said to him, you know, every mistake, you build that willingness to learn more. You know, it's so, you know, and I think that's what we do as human beings. We make mistakes to learn more, and that's how I learn how to play music. You know, I guess trial and error, on a small way, and then in a big life way. You know, so you don't want to beat yourself up too much about going through the darkness because, what is that Rumi thing? And not to sound too hippie now, but the Rumi quote, you know, the darkness is where the light gets in, or something like that. I don't know. I don't want to misquote it, but so anyone who's an aspiring musician, just know that if you can't do anything else, just sit and practice, keep moving forward, keep yourself inspired. And I mean, I used to sit and play guitar for 12 hours straight, you know, till my fingers bled and, you know, my voice was gone and all of that, you know, and I used to sit in a rehearsal room and thrash it out, and or in my bedroom and just play over and over again, A, G, D, over and over again, over and over again. But, you know, it does pay off. It does pay off. Absolutely.
Well, man, anything you want to let the people know?
No, just thanks very much for listening, everyone. And there's new music coming out very soon. I hope to tour in Canada. I hope, you know, and America and Europe and everywhere very soon. And once the world sort of gets back to normal, I hope to sort of meet everyone in person and, you know, and be able to share my music with whoever.
Perfect.
Yeah,
man.
Thank you, man.
It's been awesome chatting with you, bro.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks very much. Yeah, it's been fun. Thank you.
We'll put this together and send it your way to manager, and we'll see what happens with it.
Yeah, great, man. Yeah, I hope that was cool. All right.
Yeah, it was really good.
To be honest, I haven't done an interview in so long. Like, it's been a long time. So it's kind of nice to be able to sort of have that sort of connection again and talk about this stuff. You know, you're living it all the time, but, you know, to sort of step back from it and try and explain it is a different thing altogether. So yeah, it's nice to be able to talk to us. So thanks so much for getting in contact, man. Yeah, rocking. Awesome, man.